While the government is shutting down legal ways to enter the country, it also seems to be losing control of the migration crisis through the English Channel, doesn't it?
It seems that way, doesn't it? I think what we're witnessing is that actually they're not bothered. They don't want to control migration illegally over the channel, because if they did, they would be following the protocols which are already in place, which would allow them to return asylum seekers to the country in which they first entered the European Union. So the very fact that we've got people who are fleeing from France claiming asylum in Britain would make me ask the question, are these genuine asylum seekers? Are they people who have actually fled their home nations, come to Europe and sought refuge at the first point of entry in the EU? Or are there people who literally just want to come to Britain and therefore they are putting their children's lives at risk, their own lives at risk, are breaking the law? And quite frankly, if you or I, Kate, were to get on a boat and go in the Channel right now, we'd be arrested for breaking the lockdown.
And also, Shoaib, how do you respond to that?
Yes, I mean, firstly, obviously, I guess the basic thing to say is, obviously, it's a humanitarian crisis more than a legal one, or otherwise. Obviously, there are moral and ethical aspects to this as well. But obviously, we're talking about the law today. One thing to generally say about this, I mean, firstly, it's a legal myth that there's any requirement for someone to claim asylum in the first safe country they reach. That just isn't a legal requirement. Neither the UN Charter, no international refugee convention actually says that. So that's the first thing to say. But secondly, particularly Britain as an island, if we were to say that people could only claim asylum in the first safe country, and if they're coming to us through a third country, then they shouldn't be allowed or they should be removed, then I don't see how any asylum seeker would ever reach here unless they took a flight. And then obviously, most asylum seekers financially, otherwise, are they able to do that legally? Are they able to obtain a visa? There is no way to obtain a visa and say, I need to go to Britain to claim asylum there. Can I fly to Britain? Obviously, there's no way of doing that. So that's the second thing. Obviously, in terms of the UK government not being in control, I don't think that's disputed by anyone. Obviously, that's been the case for decades now. The Home Office is completely out of control. It has no idea what it's doing. It just tries to target these people. And obviously, the easiest targets is the one it targets. People it can remove, even when they have family here, are removed. When it can't deal with something, it just ignores it. So, I mean, I don't think anyone would disagree with the view that these crossings or any other really dangerous crossings or dangerous journeys to the UK are not a complete failure of the international system, humanitarian law, and the Home Office. So of course, yes, I mean, it is something that the government should be looking at, but I don't think it should necessarily be with the sole purpose of we need to reduce the number of people coming here or we need to reduce the number of asylum seekers in the UK.
Well, Nathan, should we follow, for example, countries like Australia by sending boats back to their starting point to stop people taking dangerous journeys?
Well, I think the only way you're going to actually stop this is by being very, very hard on illegal entry into the United Kingdom. It's the only way to stop it. And if you don't, then people will keep on flouting the law and people will keep on trying their best to get into Britain. But, I mean, look, if my house was to burn down and I was to then travel all the way to London. I live in Wales. Travel all the way to London, jump over the wall of Buckingham Palace and ensconce myself in Buckingham Palace because I just wanted to live there. I think people would agree that that's unreasonable. That's not what you do. When you're seeking asylum, when you're seeking refuge, once you find refuge, you have found it. These people are coming from France, a first world country in the EU. And what I'm concerned about, Shoaib, and I think most people should be concerned about this, is that the British people are very reasonable. We are not anti-immigration. We are not racist in any way or shape or form. There are a small minority of people who are, but we do believe in the rule of law. We do want to see that it's not chaos or chaotic, and we do want to know that it's fair for everybody. And when people are breaking the law to get into Britain because that's where they want to live, not because of anything in reality to do with refuge or asylum, because they'd be quite happy in France or Belgium or Holland or any of the other countries that they're coming from, what will happen is parties like UKIP or the National Front or all of these other parties will then start to drill on these people on the British public. They will stir up their sentiments and their feelings against it, and we will end up closing the borders altogether. We will end up what happened with Brexit, and I know because I was a big, huge part of this. I know for a fact that if the EU hadn't have let over 1 million people uncontrolled come into Britain, we probably wouldn't have won the Brexit referendum. It was that people just got fed up of it. And people are looking at what's going on in the Channel.
Nathan, let's let Shoaib respond to that then. Shoaib, how do you respond?
Firstly, I mean, obviously, the ridiculous analogy with Buckingham Palace. I mean, I don't know what that even means, to be honest. But secondly, we talk about the rule of law. That's exactly what I'm saying.
You're a lawyer. You've got a brain.
It's not illegal. That's the whole point. You know, how does someone legally come to the UK to claim asylum here? I just don't understand what you mean. What suggested when we say that? It's not illegal, and that's the point. I mean, entering the UK illegally is a criminal offence, but not if you're coming here to claim asylum. So if someone claims here and successfully claims asylum, they would not be criminally prosecuted. So it is not a crime. What Nathan just said about the public opinion, and that's the point. Our media, our government, our politicians, our public figures, we need to take responsibility. They need to take responsibility and create awareness, educate the public. Just because the public is afraid of asylum seekers or they don't want asylum seekers doesn't mean we need to stop taking asylum seekers. What that means is we need to keep welcoming these people who are fleeing persecution, but educate the public and say, look, these are not people, they're not the enemy, they're not the other. People migrate, people move countries, people, travel to save their lives. That's what these people are doing. So that's what we need to do. It's no answer to say, let's just stop everyone coming to the UK. Our public doesn't like it.